to today's lesson. Tommy was thinking as he was eating his breakfast. Suddenly, he asked his mom, "Mom, can my food be unsafe?" "Yes," Tommy mommy replied. "How?" Tommy asked again, and we explained that. Do you know that food can become contaminated at any point of production, distribution, which responsibility lies with the producer? That is one. Secondly, the improper way foods are prepared or handled at home also cause foodborne disease. Foodborne disease is a disease caused by consuming contaminated food or drink. More so, unclean food service establishments like restaurants or unclean markets can cause food to be unsafe. What proper ways can one food be safe? Let's find out in our topic for today. Our topic for today is food safety. Food safety is the sanitary rules by which food is handled in order to prevent food contamination, food poisoning, and foodborne disease. It is also the hygienic handling of food to prevent consumption of contaminated food. Food safety also involves separation of cooked and raw food, keeping food clean, cooking thoroughly, keeping the food in the safe temperature, and using safe water and raw materials. Without good hygiene and sanitary conditions, germs and disease will spread quickly. Unsafe food pose global health threats, endanger everyone including you. Unsafe food creates a dangerous circle of diarrhea and malnutrition and threatens the nutritional status of the most vulnerable. Let's look at safety rules that most people break without knowing it. Skipping out on a simple food safety rule may have a bigger consequence than you think. Beyond resulting in a stomach ache, it can have more serious outcomes for those with a weaker immune system, like yourself, the young one, and the pregnant women. Let's look at the 5 food safety guidelines that most people forgo because they are busy, forget, or just they don't know any better. The first one is an improper hand washing. When it comes to hand washing, most people don't do it often enough or properly. When working in a kitchen, you should wash your hand before cooking and after cooking. Number two, defrosting on the countertop. Most people make a terrible mistake or terrible habit of defrosting meat or food overnight. During that time, they don't know that bacteria can multiply over in just 10 hours, which is plenty to make someone sick. So it's better to defrost food by putting it in a refrigerator the night before. If you choose to defrost in a microwave, be sure to cook it rightly away since the meat is partially cooked at that point. Number three, cross-contamination. Many people prepare raw meat and use the same cutting board and utensils to slice fresh fruits or vegetable without watching it, which is very bad and it's also very harmful. Number four, undercooked food. Most people use their eyes to determine if food is fully cooked. Unfortunately, this isn't the proper way to determine if a food is done. The most accurate way is to you can measure it by internal temperature. Number five, keeping leftover for too long. It is not good. Whenever holding on to meat or store food, please, you don't keep them food for too long. All food has to be toasted at some point or as an indicate on the handy list. You can also make sure that you have a full list of food. Tell me, how many of these food safety rules have you broken? In what way can one handle food properly? Let's find out in guidelines in handling food to prevent food contamination. First, hands must be washed with soap and water before cooking and after cooking. 2. Clean refrigerator once in a week. 3. Separate food when shopping. Separate fresh vegetables and fruits. Food that has changed from their natural color, odor, or texture should not be purchased or consumed. Number 4, buy food from clean environments or markets. Make sure you buy food from clean environments and markets. Number 5, all food must be covered with fitted light, especially cooked food. And make sure that leftover food or soup should be boiled properly before consumed. And lastly, use clean water for cooking. What are the risk factors in food contamination? We have food poisons and food infection. These are the two factors in food contamination. The food poison is referred to as an illness caused by a poison or toxin in the food when eaten. It is also called foodborne illness. It's an infection or irritation of your digestive tract that's spread through food or drink. Virus, bacteria, and parasites cause most of food poisoning. Harmful chemical may also cause some of the food poisoning. Food poisoning happens suddenly and lasts for a short time. By the end of a week, somebody with a food poison should get better, except on a serious case. We have symptoms like nausea, vomiting, stomachache, diarrhea, weakness, headache, loss of appetite as a symptoms of food poisoning. Food infection. Food infection is a type of bacterial food poison in which the host is infected by organism carried by food. In spite of the fact that animal feces is as one important origin for food infection, cockroach acts as a vectors of food poisoning and food infection organism. Let's take a look at risk factors in raw food contamination. There are a numbers of reasons that can lead to food contamination. However, food contamination falls under the four categories. The first one is biological contamination. Biological contamination is one of the common causes of food poisoning as well as storage. Contamination of food items by other living organisms is also known as biological food contamination. The common place where you can find bacteria are dust, raw meat, the air, the human body, paste, and the kitchen clothes. Physical contamination. Physical contamination is harmful objects that contact the food. At times, food items can have both physical and biological contamination. Some of the safety tips that you can follow when handle food items to prevent food contamination are: your hair must be tied and also minimize jewelry when preparing food. Chemical contamination. Chemical contamination are one of the serious sources of food contamination. These contaminants can also lead to food poisoning. Pesticides present in the fruits and vegetables are one of the main sources of contamination. In addition, kitchen cleaning agents, food containers made of non-safe plastic, pest control products also lead to food contamination. Cross contamination. That is the last one. Many of us are not aware of cross contamination. However, this type of contamination can lead to a numbers of health problems. Cross contamination takes place when pathogens are transported from any object that you use in the kitchen, like dirty kitchen clothes, unclean utensils, pests. Raw food storage can lead to cross contamination. So you make sure to avoid this cross contamination. Your utensils must be clean. Your storing food also, you must cover the food to prevent cross contamination. And when you are disposing your waste bin, make sure that they are sealed correctly. Before we look at the first steps to food safety, remember that the four food contamination that we mentioned earlier on, they are the main causes of foodborne disease. Though we may be careful in handling food, however, there are many other ways through which food may get contaminated. Let's follow the first simple step at home. That is clean, separate, cook, and chew. This can help protect you and your loved one from food poison. Clean. Clean means wash your hands and surface often. Germs that causes food poison can survive in many places and spread around your kitchen. Wash your utensils, cotton ball, and countertop with hot soaping water. Separate. Don't cross-contaminate. Raw meat, poultry, seafood, and egg can spread germs to ready-to-eat foods unless you keep them separate. Use separate cutting board and plate for raw meat. Cook. Cook means to cook food with the right temperature. Food is safely cooked when the internal temperature gets high enough to kill germs that can make you sick. Chill. Refrigerate properly. That is, your leftover food, you keep them in your refrigerator. Refrigerate perishable food within 2 hours. Throw frozen food safely in the refrigerator, in cold water, or in a microwave. To lower the chance of getting affected, it is very important that you must be careful about what you are eating, how you are storing, washing, and preparing your food. Thanks for watching and listening. Let's take a recap of what we did today. We look at the food safety. When we talk that food safety is the sanitary route by which food is handled in order to prevent food contamination, food poison, and foodborne disease. We look at some guidelines that when she used to prevent food contamination in handling food, like buying food from a clean environment or market, select fresh vegetables and fruits. All food must be covered with fitted lips and especially the cooked food, and also cover food during preparation to prevent flies from landing on it, and do not purchase dated, swollen, or expired canned food, and always use clean water for cooking. We look at the risk factors in food contamination where we talk about food poisoning, which is referred to as an illness caused by poison or toxin in the food when eating. The food infection we say is referred to as an illness caused by a pathology organism carried by the food and transmitted to men. We also looked at the risk factors in raw food contamination where we talked about four factors: the biological contamination, the chemical contamination, the physical contamination, and the cross contamination. And finally, we also look at the first steps to food safety, which is the clean, separate, cook, and chew. Remember, foodborne illness are a preventable public health problem. Safer food promise healthier and longer lives and less costly health care. Do your assignments, have fun with the game, eat safe, and stay safe.